The night the homeless girl wrapped her only blanket around a freezing baby, she did not know that 250 Hells Angels were already moving through the city like a quiet storm. What began as a single act of desperation beneath a flickering streetlight was about to ripple into something no one could have imagined. Sirens echoed far away, engines hummed in the dark, and somewhere between fear and hope, a choice was made that would change everything. But at that moment, as the cold tightened its grip and the baby's breath grew weaker, the girl had no idea whether kindness would save them both, or cost her the last thing she owned. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and humanity in unexpected places, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel, Only Kindness, to keep stories like this alive. Her name was Maribel, and she had been living on the streets for nearly 2 years after aging out of a broken foster system that never taught her how to stay warm or safe. That winter night was especially cruel, the kind of cold that slid under clothes and into bones. Maribel's world existed between abandoned storefronts and bus stops, where survival depended on instinct and small mercies. The blanket she carried was thin, torn at the edges, and smelled of rain and concrete, but it was hers, and it was the only thing that kept her alive when the city fell asleep. She had found it months earlier in a donation bin, and since then, it had been her shield against nights like this one. She noticed the baby by accident, a tiny shape tucked behind a dumpster near a closed grocery store. The infant was wrapped in a jacket far too big, the face pale and lips faintly blue. Maribel did not know where the baby came from, only that someone had left it there to escape the cold themselves or something worse. The baby's cries were weak, barely louder than the wind. In that instant, Maribel felt a familiar fear, the kind that came from knowing she could barely save herself. Yet she also felt something stronger, something that refused to let her walk away. She knelt on the frozen ground, ignoring the sting in her knees, and wrapped her blanket around the baby's small body. The cold hit her immediately, biting into her arms and back, but she held the baby close, using her own warmth to shield it. Time slowed as minutes stretched into an eternity. She scanned the empty street, hoping for headlights, for footsteps, for anything. Her teeth began to chatter, and her fingers went numb, but she stayed. In that moment, she decided that if one of them had to suffer, it would be her. What Maribel did not see was the old motorcycle parked half a block away, its chrome dull under the streetlight. Inside a nearby diner, a large man named Rourke Callan, a Hells Angels road captain with a scarred face and tired eyes, watched through the window. He had stopped for coffee with a group of riders, escaping the cold after a long ride. Something about the girl's posture caught his attention, the way she hunched protectively, unmoving despite the freezing air. Rourke had seen a lot in his life, most of it hard and unforgiving, but this was different. One by one, the riders noticed too. Conversations faded, coffee went untouched. Rourke stepped outside, the bell on the diner door ringing softly behind him. He crossed the street slowly, careful not to startle her. When he saw the baby's face, something heavy settled in his chest. He did not ask questions. He did not judge, he simply made a call. Within minutes, the quiet street began to change. The distant hum Maribel had heard earlier grew louder, deeper, until the ground itself seemed to vibrate. Headlights appeared from every direction, cutting through the darkness like stars. One by one, motorcycles lined the street, engines rumbling low and steady. 250 Hells Angels arrived, their leather jackets dusted with frost, their faces serious. To anyone watching from a window, it might have looked terrifying. To Maribel, shivering and exhausted, it felt unreal. The riders moved with purpose, not chaos. Someone called emergency services. Another rider gently handed Maribel a heavy thermal coat, draping it around her shoulders without a word. A medic among them checked the baby's breathing, keeping it warm until help arrived. Others formed a loose circle, blocking the wind, their bikes creating a wall of metal and warmth. The street that had felt so empty minutes before was now filled with life, with protection. When the ambulance arrived, its lights reflected off chrome and leather. The baby was rushed inside, wrapped in fresh blankets, its tiny chest still rising and falling. Maribel tried to stand but nearly collapsed, her body finally giving in to the cold. Rourke steadied her, and for the first time that night, she allowed herself to breathe. She had done what she could, and somehow, it had been enough. What followed was not charity for a night, but commitment. The Hells Angels did not disappear when the sirens faded. They pooled money for Maribel's immediate needs, found her a warm shelter, and connected her with people who could help her rebuild her life. They followed up on the baby's condition, learning that the child would survive. Weeks later, they helped Maribel enroll in a job training program, quietly showing up when she needed rides, meals, or encouragement. No cameras, no headlines, just action. Near the end of winter, Maribel stood outside a community center, holding a new blanket, thick and clean, donated by people who had heard her story. She was no longer invisible. She was no longer alone. And somewhere across the city, 250 riders continued their lives, carrying with them the knowledge that kindness, when chosen in the darkest moments, can rewrite destinies. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Only Kindness, so we can keep spreading stories that remind us who we can be. Before this story ends, we ask you to comment below and tell us what kindness means to you, because your words might inspire someone else to choose compassion when it matters most.